Hello, clan fans! Season 7 of Outlander is finally here. I am so excited, and I am very excited to go on this journey with all of you again. And as you know, we have 2 more seasons of Outlander. The countdown has officially started, and I somewhat know what to expect from the season. Not 100% because of how they've split it up, how they're including different parts of books, like it's not just dedicated to one book anymore each season. So in a way they're keeping it fresh and alive, and I'm here for that. But yeah, I am excited for season 7, and I'm just about to watch it. I just wanted to come on here and welcome you all back, and Gen Recaps is officially ready to review Season 7 of Outlander. Alright, so I just watched Season 7, Episode 1 of Outlander, titled A Life Well Lost. And I have to say, it delivered. And honestly, there was a lot that I was expecting because I've kind of, if you know me, I spoil things. I've read things on the internet about like what each book is about, so I kind of knew that this part was coming, but just the way that they did it in the episode was just beautifully done. And I wasn't a huge fan of Tom Christie. Like, I know last season it was kind of short, so we didn't really get to fully explore his character, but this episode really showed like how much he's been through and how he's like handled everything that's happened in the recent like time that he's been at Fraser's Ridge, and he's definitely a much more honorable man than he seemed at the beginning of season 6, and I love seeing that character development. But yeah, just his story here was just beautifully done, and I cannot wait to get into that part and also talk about Brienne Rogers' journey. And somehow, next episode, are Brienne Rogers supposed to be back in the 80s? Who can tell? But yes, without further ado, let us get into episode 1. So the main focus of episode 1 is Claire's story, which we are seeing that she has been placed in a prison, and she at one point is asked by British officers to come with them because they need a healer, and it turns out it is Governor Martin's wife who requires assistance because she's pregnant, and they wouldn't have taken her had they known she was a murderess. So Sadie, who is her cellmate, actually says that she is the murderess and that Claire is the forger. Which, boy, can you imagine how easy it was to lie back then? Like, wow. Nowadays, can't get away with that. But yes, anyway. Sadie was a quick part, but I kind of liked her character and kind of sad we didn't see more of her, but it is what it is. Claire goes to the ship where the governor and his wife are because they're trying to avoid being on land with the Revolutionary War going on, because it is just in the very beginning stage of the war. And one of the major places that is being attacked is Fort Johnston, which they mention throughout the episode. And that is one of the places that does fall to the Americans in this episode. And the governor's just very preoccupied, so he didn't really think about the fact that Claire was the one being brought and that she was the one who was accused of being a murderess until Major McDonald. He should have stayed on the farm, guys. He's the new annoyance this season. At least in this episode. I don't know if he'll be back, but he ever so slightly informs the governor that Claire was accused of murder, and also wonderfully happens to mention that Jamie resigned as the Indian agent, and they don't know her. Yeah, they don't know where his allegiance lies. More tension. Just what we needed. Thank you, Major MacDonald. So yes, the governor is not too pleased about any of this, but he does need Claire, so he's trying to like look past it, but clearly he does not want her to get away with her crime, even though she tries to tell him, like, I was framed, I did not murder anybody. Claire informs him that she just needs some supplies for the wife, and he sends his lieutenant to send a letter to Tom Christie, because Claire wrote to him, and she has a list of things that she needs, and one of the items is in French, which I had no idea what she had written. Thankfully, Tom Christie finds Jamie, who has made it to Wilmington with Ian, and he tells him that Claire had written in French in the list that she needs her husband. And I was like, oh. I thought that was a cute way of doing that. And so Jamie is able to go with the letter and the supplies to the ship, and he and Claire have a just beautiful reunion. Of course, they always have beautiful reunions. And just seeing them embrace was so... It always warms my heart. And I knew they weren't going to stay away too long, but it's always nice to see them reunite. And the funny part in that scene was when they kissed, and I believe it was the lieutenant or one of the officers, he mentioned, I wrote it down, hold on. He says, as he's staring at them, "Excuse me, this is not permitted." I just love that part. So casually. It's like, they're husband and wife, come on. But yes, I always love when they can add a little bit of humor throughout. Jamie goes to speak with the governor, and the only way that Claire is going to be allowed off the ship and pardoned for her crime is if Jamie goes back to the ridge, gathers his men, and reports to Major MacDonald. I feel like I have to do that every time I say Major MacDonald now. So Jamie is clearly not very happy about this, but if it means that Claire will walk free, then of course he is going to do that, or he is at least going to agree to it. However, after he's back on shore and he speaks with Christie gets to talk to Jamie, and he tells him, like, he wants to go to Claire, and he wants to apologize to her, and he also wants to tell the governor that he is the one who killed Malva. And it's a moving gesture, especially on his part, because he was this man who came to the ridge, and he was very religious, very judgmental of others who were not following the same religion. And despite the fact that Jamie and Claire gave him a home, he was still, like, his religion was what guided him. And at this point, you can tell that he seems a little lost. He's even drinking. And he just wants to make, like, in a sense, he wants to make peace. Because his life clearly has not turned out the way he thought it would. His children have strayed, and he wants to make amends. And he actually asks Jamie, like, if he was to be given a eulogy, like, what would Jamie say about him? And Jamie says that he was a true Scot, stubborn as a mule. He respects him, which that's such a turn, like, in their relationship from the beginning of season 1. And Christie also, like, mentions here, like, how much he respects Jamie. Maybe he doesn't, like, say it out loud, but it's clear. I think he respects that Jamie has figured out, like, a good way to live, a good way to have life with his family. He's been able to move on and do things despite all that's happened to him. And Christie wants a little piece of that, just to know that he's done something right in his life. So instead of Jamie, Christie makes his way to the ship where Claire is being held, and he talks to her, and he tells her that he is going to confess to the murder of Malva. And during this time, he also mentions how Malva was not his daughter. We finally get the full story about her. His brother had been asked to look after Alan, and I believe the wife's name was Mona. And while Christie was away, he had an affair with Mona. And in turn, that's where Malva came from. So Christie kind of saw her as a sin in that respect. He just always felt like there was this evilness about her, and that it would be kind of easy to say, like, he's the one who killed her because he was trying to prevent the wicked from continuing on, especially with her being pregnant. Which I don't know if that bodes well either way, but yes, we learn about what happened. Mona was eventually hanged because I guess she did kill his brother at some point. I got a little lost in that story, but so yes, she got hanged, and then Christie obviously took in the children, and he claimed Malva as his own. In that respect, he was a good man, but clearly Malva did have issues. But he tried to see past that. He tried to get her to be religious, to pray to God, do everything that he was taught. But unfortunately, there was just no way to 100% reach her. And so he's just kind of seen her as maybe a slight disappointment in his life, which I'm not going to say if she was or not. This is just Christie's view. But they still don't really know who killed Malva. He did mention to Claire, though, that Malva poisoned them. He realized after Claire had said that they had the same sickness, he had found Malva with the Sin Eater's fingers. Ugh. I still hate that. And she had apparently made a broth for them to drink, and that is what poisoned them. So yeah, clearly this is not boding well for Malva. But yes, so Christie has decided that he is going to confess, and he shows Claire the handwritten note. And he tells her that even if she tears it up, he's already sent one into the newspaper of Wilmington. So it's already set. And he also... This was a really beautiful moment between them. He tells Claire that he always thought like he was trying to find the love of God, like trying to be loved in that way. But he didn't realize how much he had yearned for somebody to love him back, and like to understand what romantic love was, or even just to love somebody even without romance on the table. To know that somebody cares about you and that you care for them in return. Like, that is what he has found with Claire. And it was just such a beautiful way that he said it to her. And Claire is clearly, she's very hesitant about having him do this, but it's already done, so she can't really do anything to stop it. But at least the one good thing about him doing this is that he has given Claire her life back and she can return to Jamie once they are reunited. She's like talking to Jamie, saying like she wishes there was something she could do to save Christie in return, but Jamie says that Christie has given his life and that Claire should just accept that. But I feel like, okay, well, we know the rule. If we don't see them die, then they don't die, but that's also going to come into play in a second. But I think I remember from the books that Christie does not die. I think he is appointed by the governor to do something for him, and I don't quite remember the details, but I think Christie will be alive still. Because we just see him walk away with the lieutenant. We don't see anything happen to him, so there's a good chance we'll see him again, maybe later in the season. At least that's the end of Christie's story for now. However, the episode did not end there. Jamie, while Claire is sleeping, goes to Richard Brown's room. And we hadn't really seen a confrontation with them the whole episode. And finally we get one here. This is a very big confrontation scene, and I did not know where they were going with this because I really couldn't find what happened to Richard Brown in the books, and I feel like, I don't know if there was like a big conclusion for him. At least it hasn't been written online. I don't know if that's the case. But in this scene, Jamie just being there is a threat to Richard Brown. And he tells him, like, if you do something to me, my men will come after you. But Jamie informs him that Ian has already found his men and has brought his Cherokee friends to take care of them. So Brown is kind of on his own here. And the last thing we see is Jamie going towards Brown. And scene. We don't know what happens. We might know what happens in the next episode unless they gloss over it. But have we seen the end of Richard Brown? Please? He's a good adversary, I will give him that. He is a... Whew. But yeah, we will see what happens with that. And I just loved how they handled the story. I'm glad Claire is a free woman again, and I cannot wait to see them return home to the Ridge. Now, as for Brianna and Roger's story, we catch up with them where Roger is being trained and he's studying to be a minister. Roger is taken to the camp where there are some prisoners being held, and the idea was to have them... I don't 100% understand religion, I'm going to be honest. Basically, I think he was having them, like, atone for their sins and saying a prayer. And this was the funny part. Roger, he brought a little bit of the 20th century in, and he says, what is it? Fly like a butterfly, or no, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Said the Lord. And this catches the attention of one of the prisoners, who is Wendigo Donner. So we had last semi-seen him in season 6 whistling in the prison, and I honestly thought he and Claire were going to meet up because that would have been like the exact place that they would have ended up, but no. He is somewhere else. So instead it is Roger who finds him, and since Roger notices that Donna recognizes the quote, he confronts him, and Donna realizes that Roger is a time traveler, and he tells him his story about how he had gone with others through the stones. However, they got split up, ended up in different times, and he just wants to go home. However, Roger is conflicted because he knows that Wendigo Donner was there during the attack on Claire, But Wendigo informs him like he was going to help Claire escape eventually. Like, sure. But so Roger, after hearing Wendigo's story, he himself, he wants to do right because he believes Wendigo deserves a second chance, especially because he ended up in a place that he wasn't accustomed to. And he mentions to Bree, like, even he had to do things to survive. He had to watch Bonnet push a child out of the ship and watch the mother go after her. But Brianna is not convinced that Wendigo deserves saving, and she's not on board. But eventually Roger goes to her and he tells her, like, I'm not going to help him escape, however, I'm at least going to pray for him. So he does that in a somewhat comical way. And I just like watching them patch things up because I've mentioned that they've come a long way, and to see, like, even when they get upset with each other, like, it doesn't take long for them to patch things up compared to where they had started in their relationship. So it's nice to see that evolution there. And oh my gosh, like, I think Bree is going to give birth in the next episode. Oh man, and then that means so based on the episode 2 title, The Happiest Place on Earth, I remember there's a quote that Jamie says in the books. I spoiled this, just FYI. Something like, if you see a giant mouse named Michael, tell him I said hello. Which I will have to do. Because I actually work there now. But he says this as they are about to leave back to their time. So I get the feeling that's going to happen in the next episode, and it's going to be so sad. I'm not ready for them to leave. I mean, I know that it has to happen because of the story, but I thought it would be later in the season, I guess. I thought maybe they would start with them in the 80s, and then it would be kind of like the mystery of, like, how'd they get there, kind of like what they did in the past. I'm curious to see how they handle that next episode. But I know that is the scene that will most likely make me cry. I have told you guys in the past that every season there is a scene, there is a moment in the story that makes me cry, and that might be it. I feel like that is going to be it. Maybe it'll happen more than once, who knows? It sounds like it's going to be a big season with the Revolutionary War being covered, and just, yeah, there's a lot more to happen. There's we still haven't seen William yet. Oh, wait, no. Bree and William have to meet up at some point because there were pictures of them, so man, how much is going to happen in the next episode? Okay. Here's my theory. Next episode, Bree will give birth. Bree will meet William. Possible chance that she, Roger, and the kids will travel back in time at the very end of the episode. Because they are very good at getting a good amount of the storyline in a full episode. So it's possible. But we will see. I am very excited for this season. And the fact that this is just half of the season, it's not even the full 16 episodes, the first 8. And it already sounds like it's full of action and story and so many big events happening. And just, yeah, I'm here for it. I am glad in a way that they split up the season so that way we have more time with our beloved Outlander before it is done. Oh, that hurts my heart to say. But yes, we still have season 8 after season 7. I do not know how many episodes they're going to have, and nobody does yet. But I just hope that they are able to work in books 9 and 10, and it's just going to be so hard to say goodbye to this show. Like I have said in the past, it's had a big impact on my life, and I just don't know where I would be without it. This wall would be practically empty. There would be no big Outlander poster, no fan art, which you can hardly see, and then no calendar. Maybe the Kincaid calendar, but not the Outlander calendar. But yes, it's been a big part of my life, and I know good things have to come to an end, and we will take it one episode at a time. But for now, let us enjoy part 1 of the 7th season, and I cannot wait to see you all next week for episode 2. It's good to see you all again. I hope you're all doing well. Yes. Let us begin season 7 of Outlander.